Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran, and today I want to showcase you guys the Outlaw Rogue build, which I'm going to coin for the video as RECKFUL build. I was surprised to see RECKFUL play some Outlaw Rogue on the Legion beta. I have expected RECKFUL to play some like Subtlety or Assassination, but instead of watching RECKFUL play some Outlaw Rogue basically got me inspired, got me to do some arenas as the build that he was running, and I'm able to get footages for the end of this video to show you guys the damage on the pre-patch, and the damage only gets better on the live servers. If you do want to know what the build is basically about, I guess you can kind of call it the Deeper Stratagem Build, but I feel like it's easier just calling it RECKFUL build. RECKFUL is a very renowned player, and if he saw potential in this build, then I feel like there's a reasoning behind it. Our average Joe can try a build without knowing if it's good or not, but if a potentially high-rated player, a high-skilled player, can see the potential in a build, then I feel like it's easier to coin under his name than under the average Joe name. But basically the build is Deeper Stratagem, Quick Draw, and if you look at the PvP honor talents, they don't really change that much. The only change you would have at the end is Plunder Armor against casters and Dismantle against melee, as you're playing more of a support role at the last row of the talents. The build is really cool, and it kind of works well with Outlaw Rogue because you have a lot more energy regeneration, a lot more common point generation, and cooldown reduction as an Outlaw Rogue. Deeper Stratagem in place for Vigor allows you to have maximum of 6 common points, and your ability scale with the 6 common point scaling. Like for example, Run Through deals more damage, Between the Eyes deal more damage and stuns for a bit longer. All those abilities scale, and you can basically hold more common points and be more effective with them. This also applies for a cooldown reduction buff that you get from Roll the Bones. Overall works out for a really strong build. So I want to talk about it today and present you guys exactly what this build is all about. Maybe this is something you can try on the pre-patch servers or on the live servers. I'm currently playing this on a pre-patch live servers right now, and I'm having a ton of fun playing this build. It's actually a lot of fun, and it kind of gives a reasoning for a Quick Draw. Usually I go for Ghost Strike, but a Quick Draw isn't a great place here. The reason you go for Quick Draw is because common point generation is pretty important for this build. So every time you're able to generate extra common points, especially once you get Quick Draw off of Saber Slashes, the free pistol shot from it, you can build up the common points faster with Quick Draw, and you are able to use the finishes a lot more often, whether it be your stun for Between the Eyes or your Run Through for more damage. This build does kind of end up being a little bit more on the energy starved side, but because of Control is King, every time the enemies are stunned, silenced, or polymorphed around you, every time you're able to score polymorphs with a mage, stuns from yourself, or maybe silences from a caster of sorts, every time you have CC on a target, you gain Adrenaline Rush, which kind of does supplement for the energy loss. So as long as you don't overlap Adrenaline Rush while Control is King is available to be for free, then in most cases you should have a little bit extra energy. Also, it makes the buff of Buried Treasure a little bit more effective because it increases your energy regeneration by 40%. So those are some of the ways that you can get yourself a little bit extra energy through Control as King and with the buff of Roll the Bones or Buried Treasure in order to supplement for the energy that you are losing. So this build ends up being a little bit less spammy, a lot more energy pulling, a lot more energy effective, but this build also allows you to build up a lot more common points and be able to use them a little more effectively, kind of bringing back the Rogue playstyle away from the Combat Rogue of just spamming Sinister Strikes, back down to something more of a subtlety level where it's more about energy management, building common points, common point management, and being very careful with your resources altogether. This build heavily revolves around getting the right buffs of Roll the Bones, and it's all about how many buffs you get and how can you use them. So this build is heavy, very heavy on the idea of which buffs you get from Roll the Bones. So as you're dealing damage to an enemy target, you're trying to build up and work with the correct buffs. In most cases, if you get 2 or more buffs, you have enough buffs in order to dish out some serious damage on a target. But when you get single buffs all by themselves, there's only a few that really do shine, that allow you to deal some sort of pressure. Other buffs you kind of just want to roll for. The cooldown reduction is a great buff for the most part, but you kind of need to generate a little bit extra common points or energy or have some sort of a damage buff in order to make it more effective. True Bearing is alright, but I would use it in a duo buff. Jolly Roger, on the other hand, is a pretty great buff for generating extra common points, and extra pistol shots would generate overall more common points. So Jolly Roger is actually a really good buff to get as a singular target buff in order to build up common points and dish out somewhat of extra damage. But for the most part, you want to roll out of it. Broadsides is one of the best buffs in the game for this build. Basically, it allows you to build up insane amounts of common points left and right. Very good buff in terms of being conservative with your energy and common points, as a single slash of Saber Slash will generate 2 common points, allowing you to use your more finishers a lot more often and being able to line up CC a lot more effectively. If you get a single buff of Grand Melee, I don't think it's the greatest buff ever. I would roll out of it unless it's a part of a duo buff. Now, Buried Treasure is probably one of the best buffs because you get a ton of energy regeneration. And then Shark Infested Waters is always great whenever you are trying to line up some burst in your foe. So Shark Infested Waters is the kind of buff that you want to keep, and Buried Treasure is the kind of buff you also want to keep for as long as you can, because those buffs end up being probably some of the best energy increasers for you in the game. The only time you can really complain about what buffs you get is if you get a bad singular buff. Those buffs being Jolly Roger isn't the greatest buff, Grand Melee isn't the greatest buff either, but if you get two buffs, any kind of buffs, any two combination or more of buffs is usually a damage increase, so those buffs you don't really want to roll out of. In terms of playstyle, the playstyle isn't any different. You use Saber Slash and Pistol Shots in order to generate common points, and you kind of try to work with the buffs that you are given, trying to line up damage on your targets between the eyes on the kill target, and then try to spam out energy into them as possible, or use big cooldowns like Killing Spree or Adrenaline Rush. And that's really it. The playstyle itself, the actual playstyle of the build, isn't any different in terms of what you do. You still press the same buttons, it's just about slightly adjusts how you end up using them. This build is a bit more conscious in terms of energy management, making sure you pulled full energy, making sure you have the common points. But this build is very, very effective with your artifact weapon, because Curse of Dreadblade's 1.5 minute cooldown invokes the Curse of Dreadblades, causing Saber Slash and Pistol Shot to fill your common points. So you will fill your common point to full 6 if you are running Deeper Stratagem. Dreadblades, Saber Slash, run through, Saber Slash, Pistol Shot, run through, Mark for Death, run through, Saber Slash, run through. It gets you a bit more effectiveness for your finishers. So what is the good advantages of Deeper Stratagem? It basically makes your run throughs a little bit more effective and a little bit heavier. Not only does it increase their effectiveness up to 6 common points, it also will increase your finishers by 10%. It also make between the eyes stun your target for 6 seconds rather than 5, which can be a bit of a difference in terms of PvP, but it also deals a little bit more damage to a target whether you're off CCing or CCing the main target. It also makes your Roll the Bones buff last longer, so try to roll between 5 or 6 common points, usually towards 6, and if you get 2 buffs at 6 common points, you get those buffs for a very long while, allowing you to deal massive amounts of damage and line up abilities on your opponent. As you line up stuns, you get in Control of King, which gives you Adrenaline Rush, which allows you to supplement a little bit for your energy regeneration, and then you have things like Crit that gets added into your gameplay. You get energy regeneration, extra common points, cooldown reduction, which can be applied with blind and stuns and such, and all your abilities all together. So it kind of builds up on a bit more conservative but a bit more value Outlaw Rogue, rather than an Outlaw Rogue that's all about spamming out damage as much as possible. You're more looking to get as much value out of your abilities. So for the end of the video, I have a lot of the arenas which are done on the live servers, but the damage difference won't be that much different on the beta. The only difference you would get on the beta are the PvP talents, which are not quite required for the live servers, and then you would have the artifact weapon, which definitely does help on the beta, but again, not really all that required on live servers. So this is the build that I can play currently right now on the live version of the game, as well as on the beta, so this is something for you guys to try. I definitely think you should play it around. If RECKFUL enjoyed, and if I enjoyed, I'm pretty sure you guys will be able to find enjoyment out of it, especially if you're more one of the older Subtlety Rogue players. If you've been enjoying the good old playstyle of Subtlety, and you're not quite happy with what they've done in Legion, then this playstyle might be a little bit more enjoyable for you. But give it a try. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Enjoy the arenas, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
The future's on its way, defining our memories as the difference between you and me. Writing our history, creating our memories, defining our memories as the difference between you and me. Writing our history, creating our memories. We can't change, that everything will always change. But we'll remember this as it is today in time. We both know you won't be mine. The future